I guarantee you can be getting more value from your cards, and I'm going to show you how. 2 years ago, I wrote an article outlining how to value soul cards, but things have changed since then, and the Fab community has learned a lot about card valuation. Let's put my last 2 years of learning to the test and boil everything down to a few simple rules you can use during your games. Here's a quick review of the basics. Wounding Blow is a generic attack from the first Fab set, Welcome to Rathe, that comes in a cycle of red, yellow, and blue. It blocks for 3 and costs 0 to attack for 4, 3, or 2. It doesn't have Go Again or anything fancy, it's a straight up 1 action point equals 1 card transaction, but there are a few things to learn here. Let's identify the ceiling and floor of each one in a vacuum. The red pitches for 1, attacks for 4, and blocks for 3. Right away, we can identify the floor as the pitch value, 1, and the attack value as the ceiling, 4. So we definitely want to attack with this one, not use it to pitch or block if we can help it. 1 card for 4 value is above rate and is why cards like Sink Below and Fate Foreseen are so widely played. The yellow pitches for 2 but still attacks or blocks for more, 3 each. So either attacking or blocking is what we want to use this one for. And the blue pitches or blocks for 3 and attacks for only 2. Pitching or blocking is what we want to use this one for. Getting 3 points of value from a card is known as on rate, and is why you might hear people generalize that you want to be getting 12 value from a hand of 4 cards, at minimum. If this was our hand, the maximum face value we could get from it is 10 points, by blocking with the yellow and blue for 6, and attacking with the red for 4. When it comes to valuing multiple cards, another card, made popular by Michael Hamilton, is Wounded Bull. This card can easily attack with the damage buff if you have less life than your opponent, and decks like Icelander like to pair this with a blue card to swing in for 8, pitching the blue to cover the cost. Quick math tells us this is a 2-card 8 or 4 value per card. A nice little above rate play. Now let's cover implied value by looking at another card from Welcome to Rathe. Unlike Wounding Blow's raw damage, Red Snatch's 4 damage attack comes with a nasty on-hit. A quick ceiling and floor analysis of this cycle of cards tells us we probably don't want to be blocking with Snatch since it only blocks for 2. Of course, the game state matters since you wouldn't want to die if blocking 2 damage is all you need to live, but in a vacuum, playing Snatch is better than blocking or pitching with it. The red is the strongest to attack with, no question. At 4 damage, its attack is above rate for 1 card, and its powerful on-hit means it has the potential to gain us 3 more value in the form of card draw. To stop us efficiently, an opponent would need a 1-card 4 of their own, like a 0-cost D-React, or blocking equipment if they want to keep their cards. If they don't have those, we may end up 2-for-1ing them if they block with 2 cards from hand, or a card from hand plus equipment to cover the awkward 4 damage breakpoint. This is known as implied value. At face value, Snatches 4 damage, but its implied value is forcing the opponent to give us an extra card, or we draw an extra card. Playing the yellow version threatens the same on-hit but with a lesser attack for 3, which the opponent can block more easily with a single 3 block from hand. Forcing a card-for-card trade is just on rate, and doing anything else with Yellow Snatch like pitching or blocking would be below rate, so we might think twice before putting this one in our deck. Blue Snatch threatens the same on-hit, but its 2 damage attack can be blocked by the opponent with very little effort since they can cover it up with a single 2-block equipment instead of their cards. Getting your opponent's equipment is good, but I think most opponents would be happy trading equipment to stop 2 damage plus 3 implied value, 5 total, if it means keeping their cards in hand. We'll plan to pitch Blue Snatch for 3 value instead. Implied value is also the reason cards like Command and Conquer are so good. CNC costs 2 to play and has an on-hit that will destroy all cards in the opponent's arsenal. So while an attack for 6 using 2 cards is on rate, the implied value means we stand to gain an additional 3 value from the opponent's arsenal if it hits, or potentially more if the card is a 1-for-4 like Sink Below, which they can't use to block CNC. When the opponent blocks efficiently with 2 cards, which they will likely do, it denies the implied value gain. This is probably stuff you're already familiar with, so let's go deeper. Valuing soul cards is tricky business and goes beyond surface level strategy. While soul cards don't deal immediate damage, their role in setting up future turns is crucial. So, how do we quantify their value when their benefits are not immediately apparent? As you know, most Raiden turns look something like this: charge attack, Raiden, some other attack. Maybe not in that order if you're activating Ironsong Versus, but that's generally the pattern. Side note about versus, remember that it's an action, which means activating it in the middle of a chain will break it. If the opponent had blocked our take flight with equipment, they'd get it back when we activate versus. Using versus at the start of our turn preserves our chain and gives +1 to our Bolt of Courage if Raiden hits. Going one step further in this example, it's even better to attack with Raiden last, since the Bolt can get Go Again from the Quicken, and versus sets us up to keep a Courage token for the next turn if Raiden hits. Okay, tangent over. Attacking and charging a card is 2 cards from hand. Does this mean we're 2-for-1ing ourselves by charging? It may seem that way at surface level, and I've heard plenty of people call this a 2-card 3, but charging is also how we enable Bolton's ability, and his cherished weapon, Raiden. This glorious saber of light turns into a free attack for 3 value on turns we charge, or in other words, the card we quote-unquote lose to charging turns into an on-rate weapon attack for 3. This brings us to our first heuristic. For every soul card, swing Raiden. This may seem super obvious, but with bannerets now in Bolton's toolbox, there are times we might hold back. Soul Flare lets us create Quicken or Courage tokens when we charge these cards, and preserving them can be a strategic choice, ensuring our charge attack on the next turn is able to go again. Foregoing a Raiden swing isn't a decision to be made lightly, as setup turns now are important for power turns later. Well, what about turns where we can't swing Raiden? Is our value totally lost, you might ask? In this Engulfing Light example, we'll have 2 cards in Soul if Engulfing hits, but we have no way of swinging Raiden. However, later in the match, we'll get some value from the Soul cards when we banish them to give our attacks Go Again. With this in mind, what if we count a Soul card's value when it leaves Soul instead? Maybe this is a better practice, since banishing a Soul card means we've gotten all the value out of it that we can. Let's look at an example. We charge a yellow to Beaming Bravado and banish it for Go Again into Raiden for 3 value. Then we banish another Soul card from a previous turn for Go Again and use our Tunic counter to pay for Valiant Thrust. We got 3 value from each of our banished Soul cards, 3 with Raiden and 3 with Valiant Thrust, which gets +3 since we charged this turn. We could also make up for the value of our banished Soul card with implied value on cards like Bolt of Courage or Snatch, which would draw a card from our deck or in the form of a block from the opponent. In this way, the drawn card equates to the value of the Soul card. Since we're not pitching for the Valiant Thrust in this example, this is a 4-card 14, including both Soul cards. If we'd pitched to Thrust, that would be another card to divide our damage by, and our value per card would drop. It's important to note that we want to be pitching as little as possible and using our cherished Tunic counter strategically. Let's go back to our list. Since we're valuing Soul cards when they're banished, we can rewrite Rule 1 to be more specific. Go Again into Raiden. We'll also add Go Again into free large attacks like Valiant Thrust, and Go Again into attacks that draw cards. Our list of rules is looking pretty good, but there's another case we haven't considered yet. Soul cards are not only used for Go Again, they can be banished to fulfill certain effects on cards like Beacon of Victory, Soul Bond Resolve, and Radiant Force Field, to name a few. When looking at these cards, we can see they're valuing Soul cards at a single point of value each, which is considerably lower than the 3 value we're aiming for. So how do we make up for this gap in assessed value? I have good news for you. We've only talked about charging cards from hand, but there are ways to get cards into Soul for free, or nearly free. These cards go to Soul as an integrated ability, instead of taxing our hand to charge them. The first integrated Soul card on the list is Soul Food. This is the best turn 0 play you can make when building Soul at a discount, since the cards in hand are replaced at the end of turn 0. Running 3 copies in a 60-card deck gives you a 19% chance of hitting one turn 0, 2 copies gives you a 13% chance, and a single copy will pay off about 6.7% of the time. To note, turn 0 is the only time you want to see this card, since it doesn't block for 3 and will eat your turn if you use it later in the game. Halo of Illumination is another integrated Soul card that is good on turn 0, since the ability gets a card into Soul but doesn't activate Bolton's charge effects for the turn. Engulfing Light is probably the first integrated Soul card that comes to mind when thinking about cards in this category. Illuminate is one of the best all-around cards in Bolton, as it is a light card that blocks for 3, attacks for 4, and has integrated Soul Gain. This and Rising Solar Tide are 2 of the best ways to build Soul at a discount. Seek Enlightenment lets you build your own Illuminate style on hit, giving your next attack the same effect. Lumina Ascension is one of the absolute best integrated soul cards, since the cards go into soul straight from the deck and gain us life in the process. Lumina is a 1-card 5 at minimum in Raiden, so the integrated soul and life gain is just gravy. Prayer of Bologna can effectively be a 1-card 5 off Tunic that gets a card into soul if all you're doing is swinging Raiden, but it can also lead to some nice 3-card hands. For example, with this hand, we can play Prayer, reveal a card from our library. If it's yellow, it comes to hand, and we can charge it. This powers up Raiden and lets us banish For Go Again into Valiant Thrust. We just did a 3-card 11 starting with nothing in soul. Soul Shield is a 2-card 6 with the implied value of going to soul. A nice little +1. Light of Soul would be really nice to call a staple for Boltyn, but it doesn't block, which can hurt when pitching it to the late game. And last but not least, Invigorating Light. I don't recommend this one though, as it's costly and only works when our soul is empty. Okay, back to our rules list. Number 4. We can close the gap on only getting 1 point of value from cards like Beacon when we supplement with these integrated soul cards if we can't satisfy any of the other rules. A nice thing about the Majestic Bannerets is that charging one from hand means you only need to satisfy 1 point of integrated soul value, since each one comes with an additional point in the form of a Quicken, Courage, or Spellbane Aegis token upon charging. Let's also clarify our qualification for these rules, since we mainly care about getting 3 value from the cards that go to soul from hand. Don't include too many integrated soul cards in your deck though. Similar to dash boosting away cards, we need to pay attention to how much of our deck is going to soul. One of the most fun ways to get free value from soul cards is with V of the Vanguard. If we charge 2 cards to soul, banish For Go Again into Raiden, and again into Engulfing Light, the 6 counters we got from V equate to the value of our 2 charged cards. This means we earned back 3 value in the form of Raiden. Had we not attacked with the 3rd chain link, we would have left value on the table. V is the most important card in Raiden, and there's even more value to get out of it, which I show you how to do in this next video.